Kashima and Kotaro are on their way to school. They are brothers, because their parents passed away in an accident. Kashima and Kotaro became orphans without a place to call home. Fortunately, the principal of Morinomiya Academy agreed to become their guardian, as her son also died in an accident. At this moment, Kashima and Kotaro are going to meet the principal. However, she is very angry. Because they are late, Kotaro feels that she resembles a demon. She says that she wants the two brothers to replace her deceased child. So from now on, she will be their guardian and cover all their living expenses. In return, Kashima must become a babysitter after school, which surprises Kashima. When they go outside, the principal's assistant tells Kashima that since the principal's son passed away, she has not had any grandchildren, and she has no family left. At this moment, the assistant takes Kashima to his workplace. It turns out to be a daycare center for the teacher's children at the school. But they cannot afford to hire staff. So, they established a babysitter club for students. However, most people do not want to join. Kashima realizes this is why the principal wants him to become a babysitter. Kashima immediately promises to work hard, which makes the assistant very happy. Then, Kashima begins to greet the children, which scares them, because he is a stranger. So, they call their babysitter to wake up. He realizes Kashima is the new babysitter here. Thus, he introduces himself as Yusaida, and he is also the only staff member here. Suddenly, the children want to play with Kashima. So, Yusaida tells them to line up and introduce their names, which makes the children very happy. Kashima then introduces Kotaro to the children as well. Suddenly, Taka tells Kotaro to pretend to be a monster, which makes Kashima worried. So, he pretends to be a monster for the children to attack instead. Kotaro realizes they are bullying his brother, but he does not have the strength to stop them. So, Kotaro takes a book and sits in a corner. Yusaida asks if he doesn't want to get his brother back, but Kotaro says nothing. At this moment, Yusaida announces that his shift is over. So, he leaves the place to Kashima. He worries that Kashima won't be able to take care of the children. But Kashima says he already has experience taking care of Kotaro. So, he is confident he can handle the kids. When Yusaida leaves, the children keep playing with Kashima, while Kashima feels that these kids are very energetic. Kotaro just sits quietly reading a book. By evening, the children's mothers come to pick them up. So, Kashima introduces himself as the new babysitter. This makes them very happy. When they leave, he realizes that only Taka's family hasn't arrived yet. Suddenly, a guy shows up. It turns out he is Taka's older brother. Since their parents are busy, he comes to pick up his younger brother. But Taka doesn't want to leave yet. Hayato then hits him, making Taka cry, which worries Kashima. Hayato says that persuading Taka is useless, and he tells Kashima to take care of Kotaro, as he seems very lonely. So, Kashima goes over to his younger brother. Suddenly, Kotaro faints, which makes Kashima very worried. So, he asks Hayato to show him the way to the hospital. After Hayato hands his younger brother over to their mother, he quickly led the way for Kashima. While running, Kashima doesn't understand why Kotaro didn't say anything to him, and he blames himself for leaving Kotaro alone. Luckily, they reach the clinic. The doctor says Kotaro only has a sudden fever due to the weather, so he just needs rest to recover. This reassures Kashima when he thinks about notifying their parents. But Kashima soon realized their parents had passed away. This makes him burst into tears, because their parents will never return to them again. Kotaro is his only family now, so he knows he must protect Kotaro. Suddenly, the principal arrives to comfort Kashima. It turns out she had also attended his parents' funeral earlier. But she noticed that Kashima didn't cry. So, she feels relieved, now that Kashima has finally cried. After that, he goes back to check on Kotaro. Unexpectedly, Kotaro also bursts into tears. It turns out he cried because he woke up and didn't see Kashima. While Kashima feels very happy, because Kotaro finally called out to him. He thinks it would have been better if they had cried from the beginning. After that, the principal takes the two brothers back to their room. It turns out Kashima is still awake. He feels that this place is so warm and comforting. The next morning, the principal is still angry because the flowers are wilting. But the assistant says that these are flowers Kashima and Kotaro gave her, which surprises her. So, she decides to keep the flowers. Meanwhile, Kashima has joined his new class, and Hayato has also become his classmate. At this moment, the children are chatting with Kotaro, which makes them very happy. The next morning, Kotaro wakes Kashima up. It turns out Kotaro realizes this is not their parents' house. Suddenly, the principal comes to scold Kashima, because it's 5 a.m., and he hasn't had breakfast or prepared for school yet. But, Kotaro really likes the principal's hair, because it looks like sheep's wool. The principal also gives Kashima a new school uniform, which makes Kashima very emotional. He feels that this place truly feels like home. After that, Kashima takes Kotaro to the daycare. Hayato doesn't believe the principal gave Kashima a new uniform, because she is famously stingy. Then, Kashima starts heading to class. Kashima notices everyone is laughing at him, but he doesn't understand why they are laughing. It turns out the children have followed Kashima, which surprises him, because Kotaro doesn't want to be apart from him. Hayato sees Taka being too noisy, so he threatens Taka, making Taka cry and run away. Accidentally, Taka bumps into a girl. She scolds Kashima, saying this is not a place for children to play, which makes the children cry. So, Kashima and Hayato take the children back to the daycare. It turns out her name is Maria. Although she has the highest grades in the school, Maria is very sharp-tongued. At this moment, she is still upset, as she does not approve of letting children play in the school. When Kashima and Hayato bring the children back to the daycare, they see Yusaida sleeping. Thus, Hayato wakes him up. Kashima realizes Kotaro is feeling sad because he was scolded. So, Kashima comforts him. Suddenly, Maria arrives as well. She continues scolding Kashima, which scares the children. It turns out Kata's mother asked her to bring lunch for her child. Suddenly, Yusaida gets a stomachache. So, he asks Kashima and Maria to watch over the children for him, which surprises them. At this moment, the children are still scared of Maria, because she seems unapproachable. So, Kashima starts a conversation with her. Suddenly, she offers to hold Midori to help Kashima, which surprises him, because she seems embarrassed. Accidentally, she makes Midori cry. So, the children think she is a bad person, which makes Maria angry. At this moment, Kashima realizes that Maria actually likes children too. So, he asks the children to apologize to her. Suddenly, Maria starts feeling jealous of Kashima, because the children like him so much, while she knows nothing besides studying. This makes Maria burst into tears. Suddenly, the children come to apologize to Maria, because they think they made her cry, which deeply touches Maria, while Kashima feels that Maria crying is a good thing, because it helps her feel warmer. At this moment, everyone realizes that top students like Maria are under a lot of pressure. So, she needs time to relax. Hayato sees Maria sleeping with the children, and thinks Kashima will have one more child to take care of. When Maria wakes up, she becomes worried, because she missed her morning class. At this moment, Kotaro is staring at the tiger on his shirt. It turns out Taka previously teased him, saying he looks silly, because he's never seen a real tiger before. So, Hayato hits Taka, to make him apologize to Kotaro, which makes Taka think Hayato hates him. After that, Hayato takes Taka home. At this moment, Kashima says he plans to take Kotaro to the zoo this weekend. Suddenly, the other children want to go too, which worries Kashima, because he doesn't have enough money. But, Yusaida says they'll still get paid for working on their day off. That evening, Kashima asks the principal for permission, and she agrees. But, she won't pay Yusaida extra for working on the weekend. The next morning, Saikawa brings food and pocket money for Kashima. It turns out the principal had prepared for him. It surprised him. Then, Kashima and Kotaro came to meet everyone, and they began taking the children on a zoo tour. The children were very excited, because the elephant was very large. Surprisingly, the tiger was very scary. It made the children frightened. They thought Kotaro was very brave, but he was so scared he didn't dare to move. By this time, it was lunchtime, so Kashima went to get the food prepared for everyone. Suddenly, he saw a family. It made Kashima remember his parents. Then, they all had lunch together. The children's mother saw the Beto boxes and thought they were very cute, so they felt Saikawa was very capable. After that, They continued leading the children on the zoo tour. Meanwhile, Kotaro saw some sheep that looked just like the principal. At that moment, Kashima realized Taka was still thinking that his older brother hated him. So, he didn't want anyone to mention Hayato anymore. Suddenly, he saw someone who looked like Hayato. Thus, Taka immediately ran after him. At this moment, no one knew where Taka had gone. While Taka had gotten lost, it made him worried, because the zoo was about to close. When Taka started crying, fortunately, Hayato found him, although he continued to be scolded by Hayato. He was very happy. At that moment, Kashima realized Hayato always worried about Taka. It turns out that earlier, he had been scolded by his mother for letting Taka go to the zoo alone. But, Kashima realized the cousins really loved each other. The next morning, Yusaida discovered that today was Valentine's Day. While the girls were chatting with each other, they didn't know who Yuki would give chocolate to. It made her embarrassed. When Yuki heard that Kashima still hadn't received any chocolate, it made her feel relieved. Meanwhile, Hayato also received chocolate, but he didn't like it. It made the other guys jealous of Hayato. On Maria's class side, there was a guy named Yagi who received a lot of chocolate. It made Maria angry, but she felt that giving chocolate was silly. Suddenly, Yagi asked Maria about the babysitter club, because he also wanted to join. It made Maria angry and she left. It turns out Maria thought everyone always hated her, because she was a very serious person, and she didn't want the children to hate her. So, Maria couldn't join the babysitter club. At this moment, Yagi came to see Kashima. He suggested that he wanted to join the babysitter club. It made Kashima very happy, because the babysitter club was short on people. So, he started introducing Yagi to the children. Kashima didn't understand why someone as handsome and good at studying as Yagi would want to join this club, and he blended in with the children very quickly. Meanwhile, Maria accidentally overheard two students whispering about Yagi. They said Yagi was just pretending to like children in front of women. So, she ran to the babysitter club. Maria saw Yagi with a nosebleed. Suddenly, Yagi's friend, Nezu, also arrived. He said that Yagi couldn't join the club because he was too perverted to be a babysitter. That was the reason for his nosebleed. It made Kashima worried. He quickly moved the children away from Yagi. After that, Nezu pulled Yagi away. At this moment, the children wanted to eat chocolate. So, they told Maria to give them chocolate. It made her angry, because giving chocolate at school today was against the rules. It made the children cry. But, Maria said that she could give them chocolate tomorrow. It made the children very happy. At this moment, Kashima went home with Maria, and he gave her a gift to thank her for helping take care of the children today. And Kashima said he really liked Maria's conservative personality. It made her embarrassed. By chance, Yuki saw Kashima giving the gift to Maria. That evening, Saikawa made a lot of chocolate for Kashima and Kotaro. It made them very happy. Meanwhile, Maria didn't know which chocolate to choose for the children. The next morning, everyone felt very cold, but they had to go outside for physical education class. Suddenly, Yusaida brought the children along. It turned out he was taking the children for a walk. When Kashima hugged the children, he felt very warm. Suddenly, Kashima's classmates also wanted to hug the children, because they saw them as natural heat packs. It made the children frightened. So, Kashima had to stop them. Suddenly, he couldn't find Takuma. Meanwhile, Takuma was being grabbed by a man with a mask. It made Kashima and Hayato worried. Thus, he threw a shoe at the man. Unexpectedly, he turned out to be Takuma and Kazuma's father. So, Kashima apologized to him, because he thought he was a stranger. Kashima didn't understand why he had to wear a mask and glasses. It turned out Kosuke was a famous actor. So, he had to do that to avoid being noticed by people. But, Kashima and Hayato didn't know him. It made Kosuke disappointed. Kashima didn't understand why he rarely visited Takuma and Kazuma. It turned out Kosuke was very busy. So, today was the first time in 6 months that he had visited his children. At this moment, Kashima handed Kazuma to Kosuke to hold. Unexpectedly, Kazuma started crying. It made him even more disappointed. But, Kashima told him he should spend more time with his children. So, Kosuke started playing with the children. However, Kazuma still feared him. It made Kosuke continue to feel hopeless. At that moment, he realized Takuma and Kazuma were always very happy here. So, he decided to go home. When Kosuke went outside, by chance, he was spotted by everyone. It made them very excited. Suddenly, he saw Takuma and Kazuma following him. So, he tried to get to his two children. Fortunately, Umi appeared. She used a picture of the principal to disperse the crowd. It made the students scared. It turns out Umi was Kosuke's wife. She explained that she had shown Takuma and Kazuma one of his movies. In the movie, he played the role of a kidnapper. So, Kazuma was very scared of him. At this moment, Takuma and Kazuma called Kosuke Papa. It made him very happy. Sometime later, Kashima became a middle school student. It made him very happy. So, the first thing he had to do was choose which club to join. But, Kashima still chose the Babysitter club. It made the children very happy. Yusaida realized that Kashima wanted to recruit more people for this club. But, he didn't know how to do it. Yusaida suggested they go see other clubs. It made the children very excited. After that, they took the children outside. It made everyone surprised. At this moment, the children were happily lining up together, while Kashima was feeling embarrassed. First, they went to the drama club of Kieran's mother. It made Kieran scared, because her mother was dressed as a ghost. Suddenly, Kieran's mother asked Kashima to join her club, because she thought Kashima was very talented. He realized this was the way the club tried to recruit people. So, Kashima refused. Meanwhile, the children were excited. They ran off to visit another club. After that, the children continued to the cooking club, because they smelled the scent of baked goods. When Kashima arrived, he saw Maria taking care of the children. Maria angrily scolded Kashima, because he had let the children run around by themselves. It scared everyone, but the girls realized Maria cared a lot about the children. After that, they continued to Hayato's baseball club. It made Taka very excited. But Hayato didn't care about Taka. It made him cry. At that moment, Kashima saw everyone having fun. Suddenly, he remembered he had to go put up posters. So, he asked Kotaro if he wanted to go with him. But Kotaro didn't want to go. Kashima had to go alone. Suddenly, Kotaro ran off somewhere, while Kashima thought Kotaro might be better off without him. Suddenly, Hayato carried Kotaro over. He asked Kashima for a club membership form for the Babysitter club. It surprised Kashima. It turned out Kotaro had pulled on Hayato's leg, because he wanted Hayato to help his older brother. It surprised Kashima. Suddenly, the children came running with cakes. It turned out the cooking club had given them the cakes. It made Kashima and the children very happy. Finally, the Babysitter club gained a new member. The next morning, the principal woke Kashima up. But, she realized Kashima had a fever. So, she decided to take care of Kotaro instead of Kashima. While Kashima was resting, Kotaro kept calling the principal, Shaggy. It made her angry. After that, she cut a lemon. Kotaro thought she looked very much like a demon. It turned out she was making lemon water for Kashima, to help him feel better. At this point, Kotaro didn't know how to squeeze a lemon. But, he still wanted to squeeze the lemon for his brother. In the end, Kotaro squeezed out some lemon juice. It made him very happy. But, Kotaro accidentally spilled it. So, the principal gave Kotaro another slice of lemon. She felt that Kotaro was very determined. While Kashima was sleeping, he dreamed of his parents. Kashima saw that they had taken Kotaro away as well. It made Kashima very sad, because he didn't want to lose Kotaro anymore. When Kashima woke up, he saw Kotaro beside him. After that, the principal brought the lemon water to Kashima. When he found out that Kotaro had made the lemon water, it made him very happy. After that, the principal continued to take Kotaro away, because Kashima needed to eat porridge and rest. At this moment, Kashima felt that this place was very warm. So, he wouldn't have nightmares anymore. The next morning, Kashima was changing Midori's diaper. But, Midori had run away. Suddenly, a guy came to the club. He immediately smelled a bad odor. It made him uncomfortable. Kashima realized he wasn't here to join the club. He introduced himself as Inui, and Midori would be his future daughter, because Inui was in love with Midori's mother. Suddenly, Inui left, and he told Kashima not to tell anyone he had come here. At this point, Kashima asked Yusaida about Midori's father. Yusaida said he was an archaeologist working abroad, and Midori's family was still very happy. So, Kashima wondered who Inui was. because he was trying to have an affair with Midori's mother. At this point, Kashima told Hayato everything, but he didn't care, because it didn't involve them. But Kashima didn't want Midori to get hurt. At this point, Kashima still didn't understand Inui's love story, because he had never been in love. So, Kashima started looking at Yuki, because she was very cute. It made Yuki feel embarrassed. At lunchtime, he asked Maria about affairs. She said those people deserved to be executed. Suddenly, he continued asking Maria if she liked anyone. But Maria hadn't fallen in love with anyone yet, because she thought she was a boring person. After that, Kashima returned to the babysitter club. He saw Inui was frightened, because he was surrounded by the children. So, Kashima called the children back. Kashima scolded Inui, because he was trying to steal someone else's wife. But Inui said Yukari's husband had passed away. So, he doesn't want her to raise the child alone. Suddenly, Yukari arrived, causing Inui to feel embarrassed. But he was still determined to confess to Yukari. Suddenly, Midori started crying. So, Inui didn't have the chance to confess to her. Yukari immediately comforted Midori. She said that Midori's father would come home today, which shocked Inui and Kashima. At that moment, Inui realized he had misunderstood that Yukari's husband had passed away. So, he apologized to Yukari. At this point, Inui was feeling very desperate. But the kids still teased him, causing Inui to feel uncomfortable. He kept thinking everyone would laugh at him. But Kashima thought Inui was really cool, because he dared to express his love. When Inui left, Kashima thought that one day he would also meet someone he loved. The next morning, Kashima was playing Power Rangers with the kids. But Kieran was only interested in drawing, which made Taka angry. It turned out that Kieran thought it was just a kid's game, which shocked everyone. Kieran believed witches were real. Power Rangers is just a game, which made Taka angry. So, the two of them started arguing. Suddenly, Kotaro stepped in to stop them. But he was pushed aside. Then, Taka showed Kieran a photo of himself with the Power Rangers, which made Kieran angry. So, she decided to prove that she could fly. But Kieran still couldn't fly, which made her disappointed. At that moment, Kashima was still worried about Kieran. Even though he knew witches weren't real, he didn't want to stop a child's dream. Suddenly, they met Maria. So, Kashima told Maria about Kieran's situation. Maria promised to help Kieran find proof, which surprised Kashima. It turned out Maria went to the library and brought all the books on witches to Kashima. But Kashima felt it was too scary for kids, which made Maria feel embarrassed and leave. Meanwhile, Yuki was still wondering. She didn't know what the relationship between Kashima and Maria was. At this point, Kieran still didn't give up. She was determined to be able to fly. Suddenly, Kotaro found a witch's book. So, he wanted Yusaida to read it to him. Meanwhile, Kashima saw Kieran in danger. Luckily, he managed to catch her in time, which made her burst into tears. Kashima realized Kieran was crying because she couldn't fly. At that moment, Kashima thought he should tell Kieran the truth. Suddenly, the principal arrived. She explained to Kieran that humans couldn't fly on a broom so easily. Kieran was very excited, because she thought the principal was a witch. After that, the kids were able to continue playing together. The next morning, Kashima saw Kotaro still looking at the ants. Suddenly, Kotaro wanted to take Kashima somewhere. It turned out he had seen a boy. Kashima realized the boy looked very similar to Nezu. But he was stuck in the bushes. When Kashima was about to help, the boy hit Kashima's hand, which shocked Kotaro, because his older brother was hit. Kashima realized this boy was Nezu's younger brother. It turned out the boy was angry at his family and didn't want to go home. Kashima told him he would continue doing laundry. But Kichi asked why his family was so rich but still did their own laundry, which made Kashima flustered as he explained. It was true that the principal was very rich, but he and Kotaro were just freeloaders. After that, Kashima was about to call Nezu. However, he didn't have Nezu's number. Meanwhile, Kotaro was with Kichi. Suddenly, he was caught by Yagi, which made Yagi very excited, causing him to have a nosebleed, because he got to touch Kotaro's cheek. So, Maria told him to stop. It turned out that Kashima had called Yagi to notify him. Unexpectedly, Maria was with Yagi too. So, Kashima thought they were very close. Yagi said that Nezu was busy working part-time to earn money, because his house has many siblings. Maria didn't understand why Nezu spent time working part-time. But he could still rank second in the whole grade, which made Kichi very excited, because he admired his older brother a lot. At that moment, Yagi found Kichi very cute too. But Maria scolded Kichi for saying that his older brother always had to work hard and study, while Kichi had run away from home, which made Kichi cry. It turned out Kichi wished he had been born into a rich family, so he could play games freely, which surprised Maria, because he ran away from home just because of a game. Suddenly, Tsukichi also appeared. It turned out he was also Nezu's younger brother. He explained that Kichi was the only one in the class without a game, so Kichi was always teased. Kichi said that he loved his family, but he hated being poor, which made Yagi laugh. He shared that in elementary school, everyone in his class had a game to play, but only Nezu didn't have one. And Nezu said he didn't need a game, because he would make it himself, which amazed everyone. Since then, Yagi thought Nezu was a very amazing person. At that moment, Kichi realized his older brother was really cool. So, he stopped crying, and he asked Kashima to pull him out, because Kichi decided he would learn to make games just like his brother. Suddenly, Nezu also arrived. He immediately gave a gift to apologize to Kashima and Maria, because his younger brothers had been bothering them. He even bought a game for Kichi, which made Kichi very happy, because he realized his older brother had worked hard to buy it. The next morning, Kashima was busy working on a report, so he left the kids with Yusaida. At lunchtime, Yusaida realized that Kashima had forgotten to bring lunch. Suddenly, Kotaro wanted to bring food to his older brother, so Yusaida let him go by himself. But he was still worried about Kotaro. Suddenly, he saw Inui, so he thought of an idea. While Kotaro was bringing lunch to his brother, the students at school were surprised. They realized it was Kotaro's first mission, so they cheered for him. At that moment, Inui was still following Kotaro. It turned out Yusaida had used a picture of Yukari to bribe him. But Yusaida told Inui to interfere as little as possible. He saw Kotaro climbing the stairs, which made Inui nervous. Meanwhile, Kashima realized he forgot to bring lunch. Suddenly, Yuki invited him to have some of her bento, which surprised the other boys. So, they stopped Kashima and offered him their food, while Kotaro was climbing the stairs. Suddenly, he bumped into other students, which made him fall and drop the bento box. Luckily, Inui managed to catch the bento box, so he returned it to Kotaro. To his surprise, Kotaro thanked him, which made Inui decide to help Kotaro more. Finally, Kotaro arrived at Kashima's class, which surprised him. Kashima realized Kotaro had made an effort to come here for him, which made him very happy. While everyone was jealous of Kashima, he realized Kotaro was struggling, so he told Kotaro to eat with him. Inui saw that Kashima was a good older brother, which made him very happy. The next morning, Yuki's friends realized she liked Kashima, which made Yuki embarrassed. They thought Kashima was handsome and kind, so they assumed Yuki's type was someone easygoing. But they also found Hayato very attractive, and he was also very popular with the girls, which made Yuki anxious, because she realized there would be many rivals around Kashima, especially since he always prioritized his younger brother. They also heard rumors that Kashima was dating Maria. By coincidence, Maria overheard, which made her uncomfortable, and made everyone scared. Suddenly, Kashima also arrived, which made Maria angrily leave, which made Kashima confused about why. At that moment, everyone noticed Kashima was wearing an apron, and the kids had stuck a lot of stickers on his backside, which made Kashima embarrassed. But the girls thought he was very cute. Meanwhile, Maria was still thinking about the rumor that she was dating Kashima, which made her embarrassed. Kieran saw Maria blushing, and accidentally screamed in Kieran's face, which made Kieran cry. Maria didn't understand why Kashima let the kids wander around here. But Kieran said she came to play with Maria, because she hadn't visited them lately. However, Maria told Kieran and Kotaro to go back, because this wasn't a place for children to play, which made Kieran cry, making Maria awkwardly explain that she couldn't come because Kashima was there. Kieran thought Maria liked Kashima, but she immediately denied it. So, Kieran thought Maria hated Kashima. Kieran then decided that she and Kotaro would make a plan to help Maria like Kashima, which left Maria helpless. At that moment, Kotaro arrived at Kashima's class. Kotaro wanted Kashima to hug him, which made the girls think Kashima was very gentle. But Maria felt Kashima was overindulgent. Kieran thought Maria preferred a stricter type of person. She told Kashima to hit her, but Hayato hit her instead, which made Kieran cry. When Kieran was about to tell Kashima, Maria walked in. She said that she didn't hate Kashima, which made Kieran think she liked him. While everyone was watching her, it made Maria embarrassed and leave. So, Kashima ran after her and grabbed her hand, which made her blush. It turned out he just wanted to point out the sticker on her skirt, which made everyone think Kashima was silly. While Maria felt her heart racing, the next morning, Kosuke brought Takuma to the babysitter club, which surprised Kashima, because he rarely came here. But Kashima didn't see Kazuma. It turned out Kazuma was sick. So, Kazuma's mom was staying at home to take care of him. Kashima realized that Takuma and Kazuma would be very lonely today, because they usually played together. But he saw that Takuma was still as happy as usual. It turned out Takuma had promised his mom to be cheerful, to wait for Kazuma to get better, which made Kosuke very happy. Then, he asked Kashima and Yusaida to take care of Takuma for him, because Takuma is very active. After that, Kosuke left. At this time, Taka and Takuma were fighting over Kotaro. So, Hayato hit Taka, but very soon, Taka was happy again. After that, Kashima handed the kids over to Yusaida to go to school. But Kashima was still very worried. He knew Kazuma was crying at home, because Takuma and Kazuma's personalities are completely opposite. In the afternoon, Takuma woke up. Suddenly, he felt homesick for Kazuma. So, Takuma ran off. But Kotaro saw him. While Kashima was worried about Takuma, suddenly, Kotaro informed him Takuma was sitting at the gate. It turned out he was still waiting for Kazuma to get better. So, Kashima comforted him. Suddenly, Umi brought Kazuma over, because he had gotten better. Takuma saw Kazuma, which made him burst into tears. It turned out he had always been trying to keep the promise to his mother. After that, they went home together. At this point, Kosuke ran over to pick up Takuma. When he found out Takuma had gone home, it surprised him. The next morning, Kashima found a love letter in his cupboard. But the person wasn't Yuki. She thought it was Maria's letter, which made them very curious. They didn't know who the sender was. While Kashima was embarrassed, he decided to read the letter. Suddenly, Maria also arrived. So, Kashima quickly hid the letter behind him. But Yusakawa grabbed the letter and read it. The letter's writer admitted she liked Kashima very much. So, she arranged to meet Kashima the next day. This left Yuki and Maria stunned, while Kashima blushed. But he didn't know who the girl who wrote the letter was, which made him flustered and leave. Yuki and Maria were still in shock. At this moment, Kashima arrived at the babysitter club. The kids saw him blushing. So, they thought Kashima had a cold, which made Kotaro worried. At this point, Kashima was still thinking about the date, making him distracted. In the evening, Saikawa informed the principal. Today, Kashima received a love letter, which made him feel shy. The next morning, Kashima was still lost in thought. He planned to reject her, because if he started dating, it would be hard to take care of Kotaro. Suddenly, Kotaro ran off somewhere, while Maria and Yuki were still thinking about Kashima's letter, which made them worried. By chance, they ran into each other. Suddenly, Kashima rushed over to announce that he had lost Kotaro. So, they went together to search for Kashima. Luckily, Hayato found Kotaro. It turned out he had gone to pick some lemons for Kashima, because he thought Kashima had a cold, which made Kashima cry. He realized that Kotaro had always cared for him. After that, Kashima rejected the girl. Hayato felt that Kashima seemed more at ease, because he wanted to prioritize taking care of Kotaro. Unexpectedly, Yuki and Maria had overheard. They didn't know if they confessed, they would be rejected, but they felt relieved because Kashima rejected the girl. This made them closer to each other. The next morning, Taka asked Hayato to call Kotaro. It turned out he wanted to invite Kotaro to go to the festival. After that, Kashima went to ask for permission from the principal. So, She agreed, but she reminded Kashima not to buy anything unnecessary. Unexpectedly, Saikawa had already prepared yukata for them. After that, they went to the festival, which surprised Hayato. Because they were wearing yukata, Taka immediately pulled Kotaro to go play. So, Kashima and Hayato had to chase after them to keep an eye on the two kids. After that, Kashima bought cotton candy, but Kotaro didn't want to eat it yet. Suddenly, they saw a store with a lucky draw game. But Kashima and Hayato quickly took the two kids away, because they were sure the shop owner was cheating, which made Taka cry loudly, because he wanted to play. Suddenly, they saw Yusaida there too. It turned out he was working part-time at the store. Yusaida saw Taka crying, so he let them play the fish-catching game. But Taka didn't want to play that game. Suddenly, he realized his toy sword was missing, which made Taka cry loudly. So, Hayato hid him. By the afternoon, Kashima promised to find the toy sword for Taka. But they searched and still couldn't find it. After that, they went to the lost and found at the festival. Unexpectedly, Yagi and Nezu were working there. So, they showed Taka all the swords they had found. But Taka didn't find his sword. Suddenly, Hayato told Taka to give up, because they had been searching for a long time already. In return, he would let Taka play the lucky draw game. Although Taka really liked his sword, he had to agree. At this point, they arrived at the lucky draw game, while Taka didn't know which string to pick. Suddenly, Kotaro picked one for him. Unexpectedly, it was Taka's sword, which made Hayato angry at the shop owner. So, the shop owner gave the sword back to them. The next morning, the kids went to the beach, which made them very excited, while Yusaida was very happy, because he was watching the girls. At this moment, the kids' mother told Kashima to go swimming. He handed the kids over to them. When Maria arrived, everyone was surprised, because she was wearing the school swimsuit. So, the women took her to change into a new swimsuit. At this point, Yusaida realized Kotaro was still afraid of the sea. Since it was the kids' first time at the beach, Kashima began to guide Kotaro into the water. Suddenly, he was hit by a wave, which made Kotaro even more afraid. So, Kashima suggested the kids play by building a sandcastle, which made the kids very excited. But the waves continued to wash away their sandcastle, which made the kids cry. Luckily, their mother returned and bought them some drinks. At this moment, Maria also changed into a new swimsuit, which surprised Kashima and everyone. So, Kashima complimented the pattern on her swimsuit, saying it was very cute, which made the women helpless, because Kashima still didn't know how to compliment a girl. At this point, Kashima realized Kotaro was still afraid of the sea. So, he took Kotaro to pick up seashells. After that, they put the kids to sleep. So, Kashima and Hayato could go swimming, which made him feel comfortable. At this moment, Kashima told Hayato that Kotaro had gone to the beach with his parents before. But Kotaro wasn't afraid of the sea. So, he thought Kotaro still didn't trust him. Hayato hid him, because when Kotaro was younger, he didn't know what fear was. This made Kashima feel relieved. When Kotaro woke up, he immediately ran to find his older brother. But Kotaro didn't dare to go into the water. Suddenly, Kotaro saw his brother diving into the sea. He thought his brother was drowning, which made Kotaro very worried. So, he ran into the sea. Luckily, Yukari caught him. Kashima heard Kotaro crying, so he ran to where Kotaro was. Kashima realized Kotaro was worried about him. He gave Kotaro a seashell as an apology. Kashima remembered that their parents had taught them to put seashells to their ears. Unexpectedly, Kotaro also remembered this, which made Kashima very happy. The next morning, Kashima saw Taka crying. It turned out he had drawn on the baseball with Hayato's signature. Kashima thought that Hayato had hit Taka very hard. But Taka's mother explained that he didn't hit Taka at all. However, Hayato didn't pay attention to Taka anymore, which made Taka cry. So, Taka's mother asked Kashima to mediate and help the two brothers reconcile. But he couldn't leave the kindergarten. Luckily, the principal arrived. She said she would help him look after the kindergarten. At that point, Kashima went to the baseball field. But he saw that Hayato looked very intimidating. Despite that, Kashima still went to talk to Hayato. He mentioned that Kotaro had also caused him a lot of trouble. even putting his phone in the toilet. But Kashima knew Kotaro didn't understand, so he saw it as an accident. However, Hayato was sure that Taka did it on purpose. But Hayato still had to tolerate Taka. Meanwhile, Taka had told the principal that Hayato wouldn't play with him. So, he drew on Hayato's treasure. Suddenly, the principal told Taka to take out his treasure. So, he proudly showed his sword to the principal. Unexpectedly, she was about to smash it with a hammer, which made Taka cry and stop her. The principal said that Hayato's feelings were similar to that. So, Taka understood. By the afternoon, Kashima took Taka to meet Hayato. He cried and ran to apologize to Hayato. So, Hayato forgave Taka, and he also apologized for not spending enough time with Taka, which made Kashima very happy. Because one day, the kids would grow up and stop causing trouble. At that point, they would feel very lonely. The next morning was the school's cultural festival day. So, Kashima's babysitting club also participated. They would open a drink stand. Kotaro and the kids had practiced carrying drinks, but they kept falling down. Kashima thought Yusaida was really talented, because he could make these costumes by himself. She didn't expect that he had also made one for Maria. At that moment, Kieran's mother arrived. She said that she couldn't come to their stand, because she had to stay at the drama club, which made Kieran disappointed. But her husband would come, so she wanted to ask Kashima's group for a favor. At this point, Inui thought the cultural festival was boring, because he still didn't have a girlfriend to go with. Suddenly, a bearded man appeared. He asked Inui to take him to the babysitting club. Meanwhile, Kosuke was hiding from everyone, because he was too famous. But he wanted to visit his two children. Suddenly, another man appeared. It turned out he was Kieran's father. He thought Kieran was very cute, so he kept taking photos. At that moment, Kieran's mother also arrived, so he immediately gave her flowers to apologize, because he had been away on business for so long. But she told her husband to greet everyone first. Unexpectedly, Kashima's group had disguised themselves as girls. However, he quickly realized they were men, which made him uncomfortable, because everyone here was male. But Satoru saw Midori as a girl. He then became gentler with her. So, everyone understood the issue. Satoru didn't want his daughter to interact with too many boys. So, he took her away. But Kashima stopped him. He said the kids were just friends with each other. Unexpectedly, Satoru thought Kashima was a girl. So, he became gentler with Kashima. But Midori pulled off his wig, which disappointed Satoru. He thought Hayato was the only girl here. But he was surprised that Hayato was also a boy. However, Kieran said she wanted to carry drinks, because she had practiced a lot, which moved Satoru. Suddenly, the bearded man also arrived. It turned out he was Midori's father, which surprised everyone. Inui couldn't understand why he lost to a bearded man like that. At that moment, the children's mother also arrived. Inui saw Yukari, so he became embarrassed and ran away. At this point, Kieran had served drinks to Satoru, which made him very happy. But Satoru realized that one day Kieran would have a husband. So, he didn't want to easily marry Kieran off to anyone. Unexpectedly, Sawada and Kosuke also cried when Kieran said her best friend was Kotaro, which made Satoru uncomfortable. Meanwhile, Kotaro was trying to serve drinks to Kashima, which made him very happy. Suddenly, Saikawa also arrived. He said the principal was too busy to come, which made her very sad. Suddenly, Satoru suggested everyone take a photo together, which made the kids very happy, because they had a commemorative group photo. The next morning, Taka was crying, because he had been beaten by Hayato, which scared the kids. So, his mother immediately hit Hayato. She didn't know who Hayato took after to be so violent. But Kashima realized that Hayato looked like her. It turned out she came here to show the kids the hatching eggs, which fascinated them. Unexpectedly, Kashima was also fascinated, because he liked the chicks following him around. But Hayato said the chicks were no different from the kids. After that, they went to Hayato's mother's egg incubator room. But the eggs wouldn't hatch until tomorrow, which made the kids disappointed. Kashima didn't know what to do. So, Hayato threatened them. However, Kotaro still didn't feel bored, and he continued to observe the eggs. In the evening, Kashima and Kotaro were helping Saikawa make tamagoyaki. But he didn't want Kotaro to see him cracking eggs. So he changed to a different dish. The next morning, Kotaro was very excited, because he wanted to see the eggs. At this point, the eggs had started to hatch, which made Kotaro and Kashima very excited. After that, they waited for an hour. But the eggs still hadn't fully hatched, which made Kashima sleepy. Suddenly, the chicks began to come out of their shells, which excited Kotaro. Finally, he saw the chicks. Kashima realized they were late. However, Kotaro still wanted to watch the chicks hatch, which made Kashima remember the moment when he saw Kotaro being born. After that, the chicks followed Kotaro around, which made the other kids jealous of him. Suddenly, a cat appeared, wanting to catch the chicks. So, Kotaro protected them. Luckily, Hayato stopped the cat. In the end, the kids got to play with the chicks, which made everyone very happy. The next morning, Yusaida asked for leave, because he was sick, which made Kashima very worried. When he was about to skip school today to take care of the kids, Yusaida said that he had already arranged for someone to help. It turned out that the person was Saikawa, which surprised Kashima. He said that the principal had sent him here, so that Kashima could focus on his studies with peace of mind. He had even read books on childcare. Thus, Kashima felt reassured to leave the kids with Saikawa, which made the kids very excited. After that, Kashima went to school, but he still worried about Saikawa. At this point, he saw the kids being quiet. So, Kotaro said he would help, to help Saikawa regain his confidence. So, he asked the kids for help, which made them excited. So, they surrounded Saikawa. Meanwhile, Yusaida thought the kids were really missing him. Suddenly, Saikawa called him, but the signal was too weak, so he couldn't hear anything, which made Yusaida worried. It turned out that earlier, Midori needed a diaper change. So, the kids wanted to get a diaper to help Saikawa. Unexpectedly, they tripped and got the diapers all wet. Thus, he called Yusaida. By accident, Midori dropped the phone in the water. So, Yusaida couldn't hear anything. Suddenly, the kids blamed each other and started crying loudly, which made Saikawa not know what to do. So, he decided to handle it his way. Meanwhile, Kashima was still worried. Suddenly, he saw Yusaida fall. They didn't know why Yusaida was there, but he asked Kashima to take him to the kindergarten. Unexpectedly, when they arrived at the kindergarten, they saw the kids having a great time, which surprised Yusaida. So, Saikawa explained everything to Yusaida. Because all the diapers were wet, Saikawa had made a diaper for Midori himself, which made Yusaida feel helpless. Suddenly, the kids told Yusaida to rest easy, so he could recover quickly, which moved Yusaida deeply. Unexpectedly, Midori also learned to call Yusaida's name, which surprised everyone. The next day, when Midori's mother found out that Midori had called Yusaida's name first, she became jealous of Yusaida. At this point, Yuki was outside the kindergarten, secretly watching Kashima. Suddenly, Takuma saw her, so Yuki quickly hid. Accidentally, she was spotted by Maria. But Maria thought Yuki came there for the kids, just like herself. So, she invited Yuki to join her. After that, Maria took Yuki inside to meet the kids, which made Yuki nervous, because the kids surrounded her. Suddenly, they noticed that Yuki's chest was very large. They wanted to hug her. So, everyone had to stop the kids, which scared Yuki. At this point, Maria realized that this was the reason the kids didn't like her. After that, Kashima's group took the kids out for a walk. So, Kashima asked Yuki to hold Kotaro's hand, which surprised Yuki, because Kotaro looked very cute. She realized the children were different from the mischievous ones she knew. It made Yuki amused. Suddenly, she saw Kotaro with a runny nose. So, Taka immediately pulled Yuki's skirt to wipe it for him. This made Yuki embarrassed. Kieran also ran over and handed Yuki a bunch of insects. This scared Yuki and caused her to faint. When she woke up, she was embarrassed to see Kashima. Yuki thought Kashima had carried her here, but he said it was Yusaida. At this moment, Yuki confessed to Kashima that she was afraid of children. So, she thought she would never be able to get married. But Kashima said that he was also afraid of many things, just like Yuki, especially how difficult it was to take care of children. However, when he spent every day with the children, Kashima had managed to get along with them. So, he told her that Yuki didn't need to worry. Suddenly, Usaida brought the children to apologize to her. At that moment, Yuki saw how adorable the children were. So, she promised to play with them next time. While Maria was feeling guilty toward Yuki. Suddenly, Yuki came to hug and thank Maria for helping Yuki change. The next morning, Kashima's friends invited him to watch a movie, but he had to look after Kotaro. So, Saikawa said he would help him. However, Kashima was still very worried. Saikawa said that the principal asked him to help Kashima spend time with his friends. And he promised to take good care of Kotaro. So, Kashima felt relieved and left. At this moment, Saikawa saw Kotaro sitting still. He didn't know what Kotaro wanted. So, Saikawa tried playing with Kotaro like a cat. While Kashima had gathered with his friends, he noticed that Hayato had bite marks on his face. It turned out that Taka had bitten him. After that, they watched the movie together, which made everyone scared. But, Kashima was still worried about Kotaro. At this moment, Saikawa drew a picture of Kashima on a ball, and he threw it for Kotaro to pick up. Suddenly, Kotaro went into the principal's library. So, Saikawa told Kotaro that the principal's child also loved books just like Kotaro's siblings, and the principal always cleaned this room by himself. Suddenly, Kotaro handed Saikawa a book to ask him to read it for him. When the principal returned, she seemed to see her lost children. It turned out that Saikawa was reading a book to Kotaro. By the afternoon, when Kashima returned, Kotaro immediately hugged him. It turned out that Kotaro had always been waiting for Kashima to come back, and he had given Saikawa a gift to thank him for helping look after Kotaro. Surprisingly, Saikawa really liked the gift from Kashima. He suddenly remembered that he and Kotaro had been here for a year, and he had considered this place his home. At that moment, Christmas arrived, which made Kotaro very excited about Santa Claus. When they arrived at the kindergarten, Taka proudly told Kotaro that he had asked Santa Claus for a transforming belt. But, Usaida said that Santa only gave gifts to well-behaved children. So, he wouldn't be visiting Taka's house. This made Taka burst into tears. Suddenly, Hayato also arrived. He said that Santa Claus was just a delivery person hired by their parents. So, Kashima quickly stopped him. The next few days, the children still hoped that Santa Claus would come. At this moment, everyone realized that Kashima was planning to dress up as Santa Claus, which surprised them. They realized that Kashima still didn't have a Santa Claus costume, but it was too expensive. So, Kashima couldn't buy it. He couldn't even ask the principal, because he already owed her too much. Suddenly, Hayato went somewhere. It turned out he went to the principal's office. Finally, Christmas arrived. So, Saikawa cooked a lavish meal for Kashima and Kotaro, which surprised Kashima. But, they didn't know where the principal had gone. It turned out she went to attend another party. And Saikawa was also busy with work and had to go meet someone. This made Kotaro very sad, because both the principal and Saikawa couldn't eat with him. So, Kashima comforted Kotaro, saying that Santa Claus would be coming soon. This made Kotaro excited. It turned out that one of his friends had lent him a Santa Claus outfit. So, Kashima had to find a way to change into it. Unexpectedly, Kotaro followed him, making it impossible for Kashima to change clothes. Suddenly, they heard the doorbell. It turned out everyone had arrived. This surprised both Kotaro and Kashima. Afterward, the principal gave him a gift. She scolded Kashima for doing everything on his own. But, he didn't tell her, which made everyone very happy. At that moment, Kashima felt that this place was really warm. After that, everyone took a photo together. The video ends here for today. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel to support Oni-chan in the next videos. Thank you for watching. Love you all.